Today's crime story comes from Philippines, a country which is located in Southeast Asia, a home of more than 113 million people. Philippines is situated in the western Pacific Ocean and consists of around 7,641 islands. The travel and tourism industry contributed to the country's economy, but in August 2010, tourists from Hong Kong experienced the most horrific day of their life. And capital city of Philippines, Manila, was shaken by one man, who is known as Rolando del Rosario Mendoza. But who was Mendoza? He joined the Philippine National Police Force as a patrolman in 80s and rose to become police captain. He was decorated 17 times for bravery and honor. On April 9, 2008, hotel chef Christian Calao alleged that he was accosted by Mendoza and several other officers over parking violation. Calao alleged that the police planted sachets of methamphetamine in his car, forced him to take the drug, and accused him of being a drug addict. The officers also allegedly demanded Calao access his bank team and hand over money. Calao said the policeman released him after a friend raised 20,000 pesos on his behalf. The Office of the Ombudsman found Mendoza and 4 others guilty of misconduct, and ordered Mendoza's dismissal from the service and the voiding of all his benefits. Mendoza was later dismissed from the police force in February 2009 on charges of extortion. Mendoza's brothers, Gregorio and Florencio, later stated that all his brother wanted was a fair hearing. He never gave him a chance to defend himself. They just immediately dismissed him. If we talk about Mendoza's personal life, then he was married to Aurora Mendoza and had 3 children. One of his child, Andrew, is a seaman, and daughter Mary Grace was a call center agent, and his 3rd child is Bismarck, an inspector and deputy chief of the Banguid Police in Abra Province. On the morning of August 23, 2010, someone was about to seek attention throughout in Philippines, even on international media, by his unlawful deeds. Mendoza attempted to board a Hongdae Travel Services tour bus as it was taking on riders. Mendoza requested a free ride, and when his request was declined by the driver, Mendoza brandished a weapon, handcuffed the driver to the steering wheel and hijacked the bus. Mendoza, armed with a handgun and with rifle, commandeered the tour bus, demanded reinstatement to his previous post with benefits, and claimed he was framed. Masat Stingchon, the bus tour guide, immediately called his agency in Hong Kong shortly after bus was hijacked. During the 2-minute conversation, he calmly informed the customer services manager that his group was being held hostage. Almost an hour later, 6 Hong Kong tourists were freed. An elderly couple, a woman with 2 young children, and a 12-year-old boy. 2 Filipino photographers boarded the bus as volunteer hostages in exchange for the releases. In afternoon, 3 additional hostages, including the Filipino tour guide and the 2 photographers who volunteered to be taken hostage, had also been released. News anchor Erwin Tulfo remained in contact with Mendoza, while Superintendent Orlando Yebra and Chief Inspector Romeo Salvador led negotiations. 17 people remained on the bus. Television channels all over the world were preempting their programs with non-stop live coverage of the hostage situation. However, because the news networks were filming police activity, and the bus was equipped with the television, the gunman was able to watch the police action and determine the locations of snipers at around 2 p.m. Mendoza posted several notes on the windows, which read, "A big mistake to correct. A big wrong decision, big deal will start after 3 p.m. today," and 3 p.m. deadlock. Shortly after sundown, the Office of the Ombudsman denied Mendoza's request to be reinstated to the police force, but assured him that his case would be reopened. Manila Vice Mayor Isko Moreno delivered the ombudsman's letter to the hostage scene. Mendoza called the ombudsman's decision garbage, claiming that it did not answer his demands. Mayor of Manila Lim later claimed on local radio that authorities had agreed to reinstate Mendoza to bring an end to the crisis, but had not been able to deliver the message due to bad traffic. When the Manila Police District SWAT team arrived, Mendoza declared in a radio interview with XL that he would kill the passengers if the SWAT team did not leave. His brother, Gregorio Mendoza, who was an inspector and deputy chief of the Inebra province, walked out after trying to negotiate with him. He urged Mendoza to surrender peacefully, saying, "Nothing bad will happen here." Gregorio Mendoza was then arrested for breaching the exclusion zone while carrying a gun, as he did not have the approval to assist in the negotiations. President Aquino later said that the gunman's brother had contributed to the deterioration of the situation by fanning Mendoza's hatred of the negotiators. Mendoza became agitated when he witnessed live coverage of his brother's arrest from the bus television. Reports indicated that Mendoza fired warning shots as he saw his brother being carried away. Mendoza demanded that the police release his brother, or else he would start executing hostages, and a few minutes later claimed on live radio that he had, indeed, already shot 2 hostages. The first shots fired inside bus were heard at about 7:21 p.m. At around the same time, it was reported that snipers had shot the tires for immobilizing the bus after it had attempted to move. Mendoza first killed Masatif, the tour leader whom he had handcuffed to the door handrail earlier. According to survivor Joe Chan Kukchu, several hostages tried to rush Mendoza as he was preparing to shoot the other hostages, but he shot them down before they could reach him. At around 7:30 p.m., bus driver Alberto Lubang escaped the bus. Thinking that all remaining hostages had died, Lubang cried, "Patay na lahat," which means everyone is dead. He says this to the policemen and media. He later admitted that his assumption was based on witnessing Mendoza shoot 3 hostages and firing additional shots at others. Mendoza then began shooting the rest of the hostages one by one, aiming at each of their heads. Amy Leung ng Yaoun passenger inside bus told how her husband Ken Leung Kamwing shielded her with his body and saved her from harm while sacrificing his own life. Similarly, their daughter Jessie Leung Songyi took 2 bullets while protecting her older brother and died as a result. Passenger Joe Chan shielded himself from Mendoza's gunfire with his backpack and survived, but both of his wrists were shattered. The SWAT team started to surround the bus at 7:37 p.m. The team failed to enter the bus for nearly an hour. Initial attempts to break the shatter-resistant plexiglass windows with a sledgehammer failed. At 7:45 p.m., a rope was tied to the front doors of the bus, which snapped when they attempted to pull the door open. After running out of choices, they threw 2 canisters of tear gas inside and Mendoza stepped out of the bus. Snipers, who had taken positions earlier in the day, ultimately shot Mendoza in the head after he exited the bus, killing him instantly. By that time, however, 4 more hostages were confirmed dead, while only 6 hostages were confirmed alive and not seriously injured. 2 other people outside the bus, 47-year-old TV news crew engineer Wen Ming and child bystander Mike Ladrillo Y. Campanero, were wounded by stray bullets. Surviving hostages were taken to hospital. There were 8 fatalities in total. The 13 survivors had injuries which ranged from minor to substantial. Because the bus driver Alberto Lubang had escaped the bus minutes before the situation deteriorated, despite his claim that he had been handcuffed to the steering wheel, suspicions arose that he was in fact the gunman's accomplice, which he denied. He claimed to have unlocked his handcuffs using nail cutters. However, on August 27, he and his family were reported missing and had fled their home, possibly going into hiding. Yet, on September 2010, he was reported to be present at a hearing of the investigative committee. The bodies of the victims were brought back to Hong Kong on a government-chartered flight. Coroner decided that an investigation into their deaths should be carried out and ordered autopsies on all 8 bodies. 5 bodies were ultimately autopsied. The remaining 3 were not autopsied via requests from their families. The Hong Kong government invited 116 Philippine witnesses to participate in their investigation, which began on February 14, 2011. Among those invited were Gregorio Mendoza, the hostage-taker's brother, Manila Mayor Alfredo Lim, Vice Mayor Isko Moreno, reporters who covered the incident, members of the SWAT team, and a number of forensic experts. Lim and Moreno rejected the invitation. They claimed that, rather than conduct another probe, Hong Kong should respect the conclusion of the Philippines' investigation that Mendoza was responsible for the deaths. They claimed that the Hong Kong probe was an encroachment of Philippine sovereignty and independence. In 2014, the Hong Kong government, the Philippine government, and victims' families reached an agreement under which an undisclosed amount of compensation was paid by Manila to the victims' families. Total 9 people were killed in this incident, which include 2 bystanders. The Hong Kong government had wanted to resolve the hostage situation in a peaceful manner. Its Security Bureau formed a task force and sent officers to Manila to assist the hostage rescue efforts. President Benigno Aquino expressed his condolences to the victims and promised a thorough investigation. While he was not impressed with the manner the police handled the crisis. After Aquino's comments, a number of Hong Kong residents posted angry messages to his official Facebook page, some of which accused Aquino of smiling during the press conference. So that was the story of incident which took place almost more than 1 decade ago in Philippines. I personally think if the situation would have been handled nicely before, 9 people would have not lost their life. What do you think about this? Leave your comments. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel and ring the bell icon for notifications.